Welcome back to the Shacknews Awards 2023, where we are just trucking along here, giving out awards for all sorts of awesome things. Something that has become more common post-COVID are online video presentations about video games. Nintendo kind of kicked the door down in the previous decade when they introduced the Nintendo Direct. And now it's basically everyone in the industry has something like it. So here we are. We have nominated 5 presentations this year for this award. The Nintendo Direct in June of 2023 that I believe announced Mario RPG and Super Mario Bros. Wonder at the same damn time. Starfield Direct, which took place after the Xbox presentation that showed off Fable, right? And the Xbox presentation that showed off Fable. The next nomination would be Big Mode Memo 2023. This was Donkey's first video presentation. And last but not least, I believe Ozzy is combining these into one. Summer Games Fest / Day of the Devs digital showcase. So the summer of Jeff, essentially. Those are the nominees. Would anyone like to talk about any of these presents? Who would like to talk about that June 2023 Nintendo Direct?
I mean, I can jump on that if you want.
Go for it.
Like those, I think the Nintendo Directs are interesting because they always have like some games maybe not everyone's gonna like some JRPG, but like there's an audience for that. Otherwise, they wouldn't be making them. And that one had a lot of diversity. But I remember specifically the Mario RPG was announced there, and that was like what? And that was kind of a little nice surprise for veterans of the series as well as people who've never heard of it. Right? This is the same Nintendo Direct where they did that. Which was kind of surprising, like coming out of left field with a big announce like that. It's just like Austin says, they sandbag all the time. Here you go, brand new game. It's a remake / remaster of Mario RPG. No, and it's gonna be available in a month. Like they did drop it so quickly, and I think when they do stuff like that, it makes those online presentations funner. Like the things you don't expect to see in an online presentation, or because like Xbox showed most of the stuff they said they were going to show. The Starfield one. There were a couple surprises, but nothing as big as like Mario RPG being re-released.
Yeah, so just real quick for people who don't remember what was announced at this one, I kind of have a list. So they showed us, I don't know if it was the first time they talked about it, but it was the Hidden Treasure of Area Zero DLC was discussed during the presentation. That was the DLC for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Obviously, they announced Super Mario RPG. They announced a new Dragon Quest Monsters game. They showed us the launch trailer for Pikmin 4. And they announced Super Mario Bros. Wonder. So that was the first party side. Yeah. Was the Peach game? Yeah, I think the Peach game was...
that was the review.
And that was their one more thing, was the Peach thing. Also, Sonic Superstars was featured in the Direct. Polya was featured in that Direct. That Persona 5 Tactica was on that Direct. There was this interactive Sunday morning cartoon game called Myth Force that had a cool trailer. They talked about the new Splatfest. They announced Detective Pikachu 2, which was also kind of surprising. I know they had mentioned it. I think that's the first time we had seen gameplay of it. They also brought the Arkham series to Switch. And I know they're not necessarily good, but we're talking about the announcement. So Arkham was there. There was a new Just Dance. The Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 1 was announced there. Vampire Survivors. Yeah, Vampire Survivors port to Switch was announced there. That really, really weird pigeon game was announced for Switch there. Wario game was announced, and they also talked about Wave 5 of the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. It was a pretty stacked Direct.
Yeah, it's a very stacked online.
I was getting at. And it was also, if anyone remembers, like most of June we were kind of like, the hell's Nintendo doing? Like there was no presence at Summer of Jeff. They didn't. You remember before E3 got canceled, Nintendo kind of said we're not doing E3 this year. And then E3 didn't happen, and then the Summer of Jeff came and went, and we didn't have any news from Nintendo. And a lot of us were like, "What the hell is going on at Nintendo?" Because at this point, before this direct, there wasn't really a whole lot that we knew that was coming out the fall of 2023 for their system. And this direct kind of answered that loud and clear. Like, here's the next 6 months for us. Obviously, other stuff was involved, like Splatoon, Splatfest, and stuff like that. But yeah, a very worthy nominee. Probably the best direct we've seen in a while. Outside of the Mario movie ones. So yeah, next up, Starfield Direct. A whole ass direct for Starfield. I gotta give Xbox credit. Instead of going like Zune with this, they just straight up copied from Nintendo's paper and called it a direct. So props to Xbox for just being unoriginal bastards. But let's talk about this presentation, which was anything but unoriginal. It was pretty neat.
The Starfield Direct was really cool. It was also really important because I think if we go back to like May, June of this year, where like coming into the year, Starfield had been delayed. We knew it was going to be Bethesda's next RPG. Assumed it'd be like, all right, it'll be Skyrim in space, Fallout in space, whatever. But that was like a few months after Redfall that people started to be like, all right, well, maybe what if like both of these games are in trouble? So they gotten delayed together. So when Redfall came out, it was a hot mess. People were like, all right, we need to kind of figure out what Starfield's about because at that point we still didn't really know anything about that game. And the Starfield Direct, this hour-long presentation, was such a like it was like an hour-long sigh of relief for me as a Bethesda fan who was looking forward to this game, who was starting to get a little like that September release date's getting closer and closer, and we know nothing about this game still. They showed so much gameplay. They go over just carefully every system in that game. They highlight the ship combat. It's just like every question I had about that game and then some was answered in that direct. And I think that like just the confidence in Bethesda and all the different developers they highlighted in that video at their studios. Obviously Todd Howard, but then going to the different departments. The lady that told the story about like stealing sandwiches that went viral. There was just like that direct created so much goodwill for Bethesda and Xbox at a time that they both really needed it. So
I agree with what you said though.
really good
It was
donation.
so damn thorough. Like we went into it knowing nothing about the game. We left knowing almost everything. And I think just for the purpose of this category, that's what a best online presentation sounds like. Is like it showed you what you came there for, and it was very detailed and it highlighted a lot of people. They were breaking out stories with sound designers and FPS combat designers, and they went very in depth. So I definitely appreciated that.
I appreciated the depth, but the sandwich thing and other things like that, like the dude who liked to just showing off the fun elements of it. I thought it was a mix between detail and also like seeing somebody use the jetpack to like launch themselves in the air and then drop landmines on their opponents, enemies, not opponents. Just seeing the I think it was actually the same lady that was collecting the sandwiches. It was also building ships that looked like animals, or creatures. But I've also Todd Howard, for some reason, I don't know why, but he's always been one of my favorite presenters. He just has a way of delivering the information and the message where I'm always like, I believe you, Todd Howard. Everything you say is completely true, and there's no exaggeration here. And this is, I don't know what it is. Like, I guess I'm a Todd Howard fan with his presentations, but I went back over that presentation multiple times, both for work and for pleasure, and watched it, paused it. I would be taking a picture with my phone and like zooming in to like see like what the writing was on certain items. And yeah, I thought that it was an amazing presentation to sort of get the ship back on course for Microsoft Bethesda there.
Nice. So next up in our nominees list is the Xbox Summer Showcase that happened right before the Starfield Direct.
Right.
Sam?
Yeah, there were a
Yep.
I
one, two,
saw Sam. Sam was nodding aggressively.
the Starfield Direct took place on the same Xbox stream, so I kind of like to, in my mind, think of them as happening at the same time. But the middle of the year during what was once upon a time E3, it's just like a slog of sitting through hours-long presentations where we get like trailers and their advertisements. They're fun, but sometimes they can be delivered improperly. And I think that Xbox has gone through this transition where they didn't really know how to do an online presentation, and I think they really kind of hit their stride this year where it's like, here's just the games, have fun, enjoy the show. And to open with like another Fable reveal with Richard Awade, who is, if you're a fan of IT Crowd, you're quite familiar with his work. And then just to go trailer after trailer of just high profile games like South of Midnight by the team who did We Happy Few, Star Wars Outlaws was there, Payday 3, Persona 3, Avowed, the Sea of Thieves Monkey Island, the Microsoft Flight Sim, Senua's Saga. There's just, Forza Motorsport. I'm just scrolling down our list here of what was in there. Persona 5, Jusant. Like, it was
How many
just
times-
back-to-back enjoyable trailers to watch
But,
during
like,
that presentation.
How many times are they going to show us Senua's Sacrifice without
As many times as they
Eddie-
want, man. I'll gobble that up. I cannot wait. I hope they show me some more. But
But one
I want to
simple
get my
trick
hands
to-
on it.
I don't know if Phil Spencer's watching. One simple trick to being a profitable company is shipping games. So it would be nice if one of these games shipped.
Yeah,
we
I
haven't
mean, a
heard-
bunch of them did ship, but
Okay,
yeah, like
but-
the Senua's Saga. Obviously, I want to let Ninja Theory cook. Ninja Theory?
Yes.
Ninja Theory cook. I'll play it when they're ready for me to play it.
What, we're like 4 years into seeing this game though.
Oh,
I just-
is it? Has it been that long?
It's either 3 or 4 at this point, and
Yeah.
I'd like to see gameplay. And that's just kind of something I feel in general about the Xbox event was they have they've gone more hype than they have gameplay, in my opinion, on a lot of
I don't
these
want to
events.
speak for Asif, but I think I understand his sentiment. He wants Ninja Theory to cook too, but he's like, maybe you don't have to tell me about what they're cooking every year.
I get it.
Yeah.
Like, it's hype and it looks cool. People want to know, but like, I just want to play the game. I want the games to come out, and I feel like Microsoft has spent a lot of time in the past few years acquiring studios and hasn't shown enough from what they've acquired, in my opinion. So I would like to see them start turning around some of these games. Like, they show us a cool Perfect Dark trailer years ago, and then they haven't said jack shit since. And like, they've shown us a couple looks at Fable. Each time it looks kind of different, right? There was that one Rare game, I think it's called Everwild. Like, they showed us something 2 years ago. We haven't heard any. It's hard for me to get excited about Microsoft announcements when I look at the hype and then I look at their results. Halo Infinite, Redfall. Redfall certainly had a lot of hype after its showcase, right? And then it landed flat on its face. So I'm just more concerned about what the hell Microsoft's doing over there. What the hell is id Software up to? You want to talk about like something missing from that, Sam? What the hell is id Software up to?
Not ready to show.
What the hell?
Clearly, it's 1v1. No, wait,
they're
that's not
working
id. That's Gearbox.
in science. Yeah, no.
And they also helped Starfield. They're credited in Starfield's credits.
Yeah.
So they definitely helped on that front. But
Greatly.
yeah,
Hmm.
I don't
I also
know.
think the showcase also had like some great third-party pulls, like the
Yes.
Phantom Liberty trailer debuted here, which was huge. That was like where the Idris Elba reveal was at. Like, that was a
Didn't
massive.
Keanu Reeves come out on
massive
stage and say
press moment.
Cyberpunk 2077? Didn't he do that again?
Maybe he very well
Pretty
may
sure
have.
he did. I'm pretty sure they
Um,
paid Keanu.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, it's fine, and I just want to start seeing results out of Xbox. Is all I'm saying. It's a lot of talk, a lot of dog and pony shows, a lot of pomp and circumstance. Ship some damn games. Ship Fable. Ship Senua's Sacrifice. Say a
Fable.
word about Perfect Dark. Just say the
In
words Perfect
fairness-
Dark again.
in fairness to Fable, they're just channeling the spirit of Peter Molyneux, where they have to hype it
Right?
up and change it like every 12 to 18 months. So,
Right?
this is on track to be a very Fable-ass Fable game.
It is. No doubt. No doubt at all. Because every time we see it, we're like, okay, that looks fine. Like we're gonna enjoy this. And I agree that the way they kicked it off was exciting, Sam. Like by far. Like that was the beginning of that was probably my favorite part of the event. But yeah.
I mean, I think I
don't know.
feel like I'm the same. I think when they're ready to show something that is worth showing, I'd rather get that than like some half-cocked CGI trailer that doesn't show me anything, but that just that they remember it, like, oh, I can be patient and wait until they have something concrete to show.
We are talking about the presentation
Yeah.
itself, right? Like the parameters
Yes.
are the presentation. So
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is why I think, given what you just said, though, that makes this a great nomination, right? Like, I think we're criticizing this trailer because we're like, oh, these games might not come out anytime soon. But I don't even think that, like, really matters for the quality of
doesn't
the
for this.
presentation.
I think
feel like it's
seeing
going
gameplay
through-
matters. I think seeing
It does,
gameplay
but-
versus a CGI trailer is important.
But this was the one, though, when this presentation happened, didn't they, like, preface this whole thing? They were like, there are no pure CG trailers at their showcase this year. Wasn't everything like in-game renders
In-game
or
engine.
whatnot for Xbox
That's what
this
they use,
year?
I think. Yeah.
I believe that was like their big thing when they
In
put out, like,
engine.
the
It was like
press release.
in-engine renders. Like, but
Yeah,
okay.
but it wasn't like a made-for like E3 trailer thing. Like it wasn't like proof of concept footage or anything like that.
I guess I just want to start seeing some results out of them because,
I'm sorry.
yeah, that's all I'm saying. It was like, like, I know it's not even nominated, but that September Nintendo Direct, like, boom, F-099 out now. Like,
Mhm.
what did Xbox have that was like that? I felt like it was kind of a mediocre year for Xbox presentations. I thought the Starfield Direct was far better, in my opinion.
Yeah,
But,
their big
they're
shadow
both
drop thing
nominated.
was Hi-Fi Rush, but that was their like February or January.
That was earlier in the
that
year,
was.
and I thought that was a masterful play by them, and Hi-Fi Rush is great. But yeah, like, yeah, I just think it lacked the excitement that we used to get at an E3 event. Like, these events are kind of losing their luster, in my opinion. There's just too many of them. So like maybe that Hi-Fi Rush hype, I just didn't feel like there was a moment similar to that in this Xbox presentation. Next up is Donkey's Big Mode Memo 2023. First, I just love that he calls it a memo. That's great. Second, I like that he spent almost half of the presentation looking at fan art of their logo. That's awesome. Also focused on Animal Well. They're an indie publisher, so they highlighted Animal Well. On top of that, they are publishing Star of Providence to the Nintendo Switch. It's a very exciting, like top-down like space shooter game, kind of like Ikaruga. I think it's cool. I think what Donkey and Leah are doing over there is cool. I like how he's pivoted his channel to be the home of big mode stuff, but at the same time, he's still making his regular content. I think leveraging his channel to become a publisher is cool. I also just liked that presentation did not waste any time. It's like, hi, here's our
It's
office.
8 minutes.
Here's a trail. It's 8 minutes. Exactly, Greg. Like, it's short and to the point. It gets you 2 trailers. It gets you a little dev interview. They even announced some merch for their stuff. I think they have these little modals that they're selling, so you can get Biggie and stuff. I also just think their logo's adorable. The frog, all of it. So yeah, I'm cheering on Donkey and Leah. I think that Big Mode is a cool thing, and I like to see what they're doing on that front. I thought it was a presentation that valued our time. And yeah, I just noticed that, this is like the first time in years that the Devolver presentation is not nominated, because I think making trailers for delaying games is lame. And at some point we have to stop rewarding them for that kind of stuff. The last thing is Day of the Devs digital showcase. I think this had a lot of games that I was actually interested in. Like this was the one where we saw a lot of gameplay. It was indie games being showcased. I think Tim Schafer does a really good job of this every year, kind of putting together a group of games that need these highlights. And it's cool that they kind of run this immediately after Jeff Fest, so there's some spillover and viewership on the channels. But yeah, I think Day of the Devs has been cool. If you've ever been to GDC, they usually have this. It's not a booth; it's at like the bottom of the escalators. But there's always this cool place for um, I just like would be randomly playing Spelunky 2, and I'm standing next to the dev. You know what I mean? So it's just a Day of the Devs has always been a cool thing, and I thought that presentation was definitely one of the better ones this year. Anyone else have anything to say about Jeff? Do we want to praise our God Emperor anymore?
I mean, Day of the Devs is consistently cool. It not only spotlights the smaller games, but like the people who make them. They do a really good job at highlighting the developers themselves as people, which I think is important for people to see. And it's pretty. I love that they always position it after the SGF stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Indie World showcases that Nintendo does, where
Yeah,
they're longer looks at games. They're like, here's a trailer, here's an interview with the devs, here's Treehouse talking about the game. Now we're on to the next one. So I feel like Day of the Devs has a similar format. It's pretty solid. Let's vote. What do you say, Denny?
Yeah, well, I think that the first nomination was still the best. I was really surprised by some of what Nintendo did with their presentation, and a lot of variety and good variety was showing off. So, gonna go with Nintendo on this one, direct.
And it was surprising because like a lot of people we had given up. We're like, oh, they're not going to do anything this month. I think I was even I think the Monday before that on our call, our staff call, I was like, hey, we should probably write about how there hasn't been a Nintendo Direct. And then like less than 8 hours later, they announced one. So yeah, I think it's a definitely a good vote here. All these nominees deserve to be here. David.
I'm going to go with the Starfield Direct. I went into this backing that June 2023 Nintendo Direct, but to be honest, if we're talking about presentation, I don't really enjoy the Nintendo Direct presentations. I feel that it's difficult because they have this precedent of what Satoru Iwata did with it. Like he kind of set this template for what the Direct is, and there was a lot more presentation value to it. But now it's just kind of like announcement. And I think it's really cool that Nintendo has given them a must-see quality by either saying, we're announcing this game and it's out now, or we're announcing this game and it's only out like in the next 3 to 6 months. That you can get excited about that versus like 4 years. But the presentation themselves, I think, is really lackluster. I don't think the Direct has really found its way since Iwata passed, whereas the Starfield Direct, and I'm not even that into Bethesda games, but I think Todd Howard is a great MC, and also it was a very content rich presentation, and that's kind of what I look for.
I agree. And your point about the Direct, David, like I always think back to that. It was an E3 Direct.
Yeah.
With the Star Fox, like Iwata turned into a Star Fox character, Reggie turned into one, or like they cut to Reggie's dressing room and he's like Nintendo 63, Nintendo 64 doing push-ups.
Or like the Smash Brothers, like Iwata versus Reggie, or the Muppets. Like I used to look forward to them even more than I would look forward to any other presentation for entertainment value, right? I feel like they straddle both, and I feel like it's just like, punny announcement, and it's just kind of boring to me.
You're
honestly.
right. It's become very formulaic.
I would rather read a recap of a Nintendo Direct than watch one, basically.
Yeah, I do. I agree with what you're saying. They kind of lost some of that fun. Also, have you ever seen Doug Bowser during a Direct?
Yeah, they're really devoid of personality, which is what Todd Howard brings. And honestly, anyone emceeing one of these things is doing PR, right? Like it's very scripted and orchestrated, but it still adds personality by putting a human face on these games and making it entertaining and edifying to watch.
I think with Koizumi, like kind of being one of those people that's trying to step in for Iwata there.
Yeah.
When you see him, you're like, okay, they're going to talk about Mario, right? Like you at least know that, or they're going to be talking about Splatoon or something. But like
Yeah.
depending on who's going to be there at the beginning of the direct, you know what they're going to talk about. I would say that
Yeah.
some of the best directs this year and last year have been the ones with Miyamoto talking about the Mario movie.
Imagine if every Nintendo Direct began with him like, "This is Miyamoto," and
I would
then
love
you
it.
just you launch into that, right? Like, here's the thing: he's so busy, he's jet setting all over the place and
Yeah.
overseeing projects. So I get that he can't do it, but if there's anyone at Nintendo that players still associate with those games, even though he hasn't directed one in forever, it is Miyamoto. He's very personable, he's charming, he's humble,
Yeah.
he's a great presenter. And I would love to see him do more of that, even though logistically it's probably impossible at this point.
I think like he is kind of reserved now for announcements about Super Nintendo World and announcements about films. I think very rarely we're going to see him talk about hardware and software. I
Yeah.
do think he will be involved in the hardware announcement for Super Nintendo Switch or whatever they call it, because he's
think
been
so.
involved with the controller design of every hardware device they've ever made.
Yeah,
He
and
is
on that point, like you were saying, Super Nintendo World, right? The portions of those directs were the most entertaining because he was there showing something rather than just saying, "Here's a new game" with like a really kind of cheesy, very heavily scripted voiceover. You know?
Yeah, so that's why I found it interesting that we nominated a direct that didn't involve him, because I thought the best directs of this year all involved Shigeru Miyamoto. I know he's nominated in other categories for other things, and we'll get to those down the road. But yeah,
I didn't mean to take
agree.
up too much time. I just wanted to explain why I pivoted.
No, that's makes a lot of sense. Donovan, what's your vote?
Starfield Directs.
Yep. Okay. I'm gonna hold off. Greg.
I'm gonna go with Nintendo.
Bill.
I'm gonna stick with Starfield Direct.
Sam.
I might have to change the Starfield Direct. More condensed. Like David was saying, like having people talk through what they're showing and then really deep diving into it. I really like that.
I like how they showcased a lot of different people on the dev team during it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Steve.
because
I'm sorry.
No, I just said like to what Sam was saying or what you were saying, Asif. Like, oftentimes these guys, like developers, like your Todd Howards, your John Romero's, they're the face of an entire team, and the team deserves some recognition as well.
Mm-hmm. Steve.
Nintendo Direct.
Why does that not surprise me? Okay. TJ voted for Nintendo Direct.
What did Ozzy vote?
Day of the Devs.
Damn it,
Well,
Ozzy.
well. Guess whose vote matters? You couldn't gerrymander me out of this award, Shacknews. No, it's all good. I'm gonna surprise some people here. I'm not voting for Nintendo, because that, in my opinion, wasn't the best direct of the year. I thought Mario Wonder was a great announcement. And Mario RPG was like one of those what? That I remember those back to back where it's like Mario RPG, but wait, Mario Wonder. Those back to back announcements were exciting and cool, and unexpected, and they did surprise and delight the fans like Nintendo does. But if we're talking about the best online presentation, it's without a doubt Starfield. Like, that was the best presentation I saw all year. Even if I don't necessarily like the game that much, or even what the elements of what they showed us didn't really transfer to my experience, the transparency, the production value, the fact that Microsoft knew, let's make a whole Starfield Direct that goes right after our Xbox showcase. Like, I think all of that is why I'm picking that over Nintendo. But Nintendo, Starfield Direct doesn't even happen if Nintendo doesn't call their first online presentation a Direct. So I do have to mention that. But I am going to vote for the Starfield Direct here. So congratulations, Bethesda, Xbox, Satya Nadella, Todd Howard, Pete Hines. Right, this is Pete Hines last year at Bethesda. Shout out Pete. We've enjoyed working with Pete and having Pete be the voice of Bethesda so many different times. At times where he was talking about punching Nazis and all those things. So we're gonna miss you, Pete. But everyone else over at Bethesda, congratulations. Starfield Direct is our online presentation of the year 2023 at the Shacknews Awards.
Whatever lies at the end of this road will change humanity forever.